It's critical, and I think you do, but I think it's critical that people understand the mindset of who you're up against, because they don't think like normal Americans, normal human beings. These are radical revolutionaries. They're called that for a reason. You have to understand radical revolutionaries. I got into a lot of heat, and everybody made fun of me when I said these guys on Occupy Wall Street, they will drag people out of buildings and they'll kill them in the streets. Everybody says, "No, it's ridiculous." Because they don't know who they're dealing with, and they, I don't think, know enough history. That's the way these things end, unless good people do something. What happens when good people do nothing? Where are all the good people? Well, there's a lot of good people who are doing something and they're standing up. But there would be a whole lot more if the media would tell the truth. Because a lot of our friends say, "Oh, well, if that's true, how come I'm not seeing it on TV?" Right? First phase, this is in 3 phases. The first phase is the progressive era. It's a 3-part revolution. Infiltration. Phase 2 is crisis. That's where we're headed now, and I'll explain this in a second. And phase 3 is political system X. All right. Let me show you this. Because, again, we're at phase 1. Phase 2, chaos, squeeze the middle. Phase 3, grab control and implement. Okay. Tell me if this hasn't been done. Phase 1, infiltrate. Infiltration, and I believe this started around, 1900-ish. I mean, the Bull Moose Party was 1913. So you could say Teddy Roosevelt officially started the progressive movement in 1913. Infiltrate, organize groups for control. Groups, the key. That's why you don't see like the Tea Party. There's just this one guy who has an idea and he stands up. You're not seeing that. You're seeing community organizing. We didn't even know what it was, but they've been working on it for a long time. Infiltrate and organize groups for control. Why groups? Because they don't care about anything but the collective. It's not about the individual. It's about moving society. We believe that it's about the individual. We believe it's the individual entrepreneur that will change the world. They believe it's the system and the group moving. That's the fundamental difference between us. This is what makes them dangerous in the end, and I'll show you how. Infiltrate, organize groups for control. That's labor unions and everything else. Create a shadow government, a structure for phase 3. This is George Soros and Hillary Clinton's language. They called it the shadow party right around the turn of the millennium, and right around 2000, the shadow party. But really it is a shadow government. It remains back. And when I say they're building a machine, there are things, a lot of this happens through regulation. You just change this one and this piece and this piece and this piece, and they don't seem connected until you turn the machine on. And then it all lights up and you've got a different government. But that also, the shadow government, is not only the pieces that are being built in Washington, but it is also the result of the infiltration of government, labor, Wall Street, education, media, military, courts, etc. They have to infiltrate all of it. And then they bring together the groups. This is what the Tides Foundation did. It's not individual corporations. It's a lot of corporations. It's not the individual like Richard Mellon Scaife. He started the Heritage Foundation. There's one guy. The Koch brothers. There's one guy. What is the Tides Foundation? It's a bunch of one guys all coming together and moving as a group. That's where their power comes from. We understand that philosophy in a non-radical way as we the people. We unite on a few ideas and we move together. There's same principle, other side. Then they weaken faith, youth, our heritage, our traditions. Christmas. Easter becomes about an egg. Community. Weaken the community. Tear us apart from the inside. Don't let... When I was growing up, my folks were Republicans. My grandparents were Democrats. And I mean FDR Democrats. I never remember my folks arguing about politics. Never. I don't remember it happening. I don't ever remember anyone ever saying, we don't talk to them because they're liberal, or we don't talk to them because they voted for the other guy. Never did I hear that growing up. Now we can't even do business with each other unless you're voting for my guy. I was on the air today, and I said that Mitt Romney had a good speech last night. He did. Rick Santorum's my guy. We got calls from people who said, why are you bailing on Rick Santorum? What? Truth lives here. The truth has no agenda. If he had a good speech, he had a good speech. We can't be so myopic. We have to come together. That's what they've done. Weaken these things. Then confuse the concept of right versus wrong. And then bring all of it into the state of near crisis. Gang, we're there. We're there. That's why Barack Obama doesn't care. Because they've done phase one. We are in the state of near crisis. I think we're in a crisis, but no, we're not. You have to be in near crisis, and that's important. Because you can't be seen as causing the problem. That's why people like me have to be discredited. People like Fox News. Anybody that is exposing them has to be discredited. Because they can't allow people to know the truth. Now, I will tell you this. I don't think I've told you this before. I'm sorry. But I told my wife maybe 2 years ago. I said, honey, if I'm right, I may be doing more damage to the country, to the individual citizens, because if I'm right and you stand up and you fight and you really know it and you won't sit down because you know it, you are a threat. And you, in the end, will be red flagged. You will be at best ostracized, at worst, rounded up and liquidated, as communists like to call it. I couldn't not tell you the things that I know to be true. That's why I've been saying lately, shh. Move on. Move on. You can't convince somebody? Move on. Don't be, I'm already in this position and there's no going back for me. Don't be, there's got to be some people who know and are not known because of phase 3. But here's phase 2, crisis. And this is the pivot point. We are here now. This is happening right now. The government is now allowing chaos. They encourage chaos whenever possible. But whenever it seems like, well, that's reasonable, for instance, Mubarak, they encouraged people to rise up. And they didn't say go rise up in Madison, Wisconsin. That hadn't happened yet. They just said people like you are making changes and rise up. They're encouraging when it's feasible for them to say, I'm not encouraging people to riot in the streets. I'm saying that they should rise up and encourage what is chaos. Then they have to enforce the negative stereotypes. This is why they come out against the Tea Party, but not against Occupy Wall Street. They're saying about Occupy Wall Street, these are good people. These are just people. But about Tea Party, they're dangerous. They're killers. They'll reinforce all of the negative stereotypes. White people are hate-monger Klan people. All of that. Isolate, destroy, and discourage truth. They've done this, and they're continuing to do this. Encourage reckless habits. Why do they say that I'm crazy and I'm in a doom room if I tell you to not be reckless? If I tell you, be self-reliant, how is that reckless? Really, ask your friends that if you haven't already. How is that crazy or reckless to say, I don't want to be a burden on anyone? All of our parents, If they planned for the end of life, they all said, I did it because I don't want to be a burden to the children. How is it suddenly reckless or insane to do what our parents show us to be noble? Encourage reckless habits and remain in the shadows. They cannot be directly. You'll notice that SEIU, Stephen Lerner, left the union. No, I'm sorry, took a hiatus from the union. He's still being paid. He's still with the union. He's the guy who is doing a lot of the orchestration of Occupy Wall Street, but he took a hiatus. So it's not SEIU that's organizing it. It's just one of their guys who's on a hiatus. What I don't. Remain in the shadows. Can you open these up? Because now I want to show you phase 3. Because we're here. But this leads us, and this is the hardest one. This took 100 years. This may take a year, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, I don't know. But my guess is, because I know history, this takes a long time. This can happen at lightning speed. And then this happens. And this is phase 3. This is where we're headed. The government with a smiley face. Phase 3 is political system X. I'm calling it that because I learned this from a progressive, Stuart Chase, who coined that term. He's also the guy who coined the term the New Deal. He said, call it fascism or communism. But I prefer to call it political system X. Okay, so let's use the progressive words. He said, basically, when you do all of this, this will happen. Now, he left out this. But that's why the Great Depression lasted so long. And I really think, and warning, I really think the progressives thought, you know what? We can't get this done. We can't get this done unless we have a huge crisis. And I think that's why we had World War II. I mean, it's much more complex than that, but I think that's why that was fed. We fed the beast all along. It may just be human nature to avoid things, just like we're avoiding things in the Middle East now. We're avoiding obvious truths. It could be more insidious than that. That's for history to decide. Phase 3, political system. Here's what happens. Grab control to protect. From what? These people have created the state of near crisis. They have orchestrated everything, got everything ready. Then these guys who are in the shadows, they are affiliated with these. They go out and they cause chaos. So then you, if I were Satan, and I'm not, but if I were Satan, I don't want to force you to do it. I want you to beg me. I want you to beg me to do it. I'm going to offer you hell. I'm going to offer you something that no one in their right mind, that today you would say, I'm not going to do that. I don't want that. Ooh, that's evil. That's awful. No, that restricts my freedom. If I'm not totally evil, I'll force you to do it. But I'd so much rather have you beg me. Because then I can say, you begged me. You asked me. I'm only doing what I know is right for the country. And in your heart, you know this couldn't go on either. And if they're not connected with this, if you don't make the connection in your friends' minds, this wins. They come here. Grab control to protect you because you've begged them. Liquidate those who oppose or have outlived their usefulness. This is important. It goes back to here. Destroy and discourage the truth. If they can't shut you up in this phase, if they couldn't get you here, then they couldn't get you here. They will get you here. Nudge, push, shoot. Got it? This is called, and it's an actual military term, red flagged. I am red flagged, I understand. And it means In the case of great crisis, the government has to shoot, detain, discredit, whatever, disappear anyone who can gather people with an opposing idea. So you will see, and this happened in Germany, it happened in Russia, it happens everywhere. You'll see your preacher or your pastor, if they are strong, if they are outspoken, and some of these mega churches, or if you're a strong priest or cardinal who right now is strong and saying, I will not comply, you're being red flagged. In case this is right, you will disappear, be jailed, be talked to. You will give in or you will not be around. But also, who else is red flagged? Those who outlive their usefulness. These guys. These guys are not part of these guys. Shadow. Oh, I thought you were my friend. I thought we've seen this at the end of every movie that's about bank robbers or anything else. Hey, we got all the money. Yes, we did. Boom! That's what happens to these guys. This is why you can't feel anger at the people that occupy Wall Street. You can't. The people who are orchestrating it, yes, because they're part of this. The people who are going there, I feel bad for them. They don't understand. Watch a movie. You guys get it in the head in the end. And if you don't, since you go to Columbia, just read about the Night of Long Knives. That's the secret. That's when Hitler, the SA, the brown shirts, remember, they're goose-stepping in the streets. They're the ones who taught everybody to say Heil Hitler and salute. They're the ones who did it. Now, how do you teach people, if it's not from the government, how do you teach people to say Heil Hitler? We are entering the times of the brown shirts. It's coming. The way they did it was the government just ignored them. The people were crying out saying, what are you doing? These guys can't do this. They would just take over a street and they'd march. And if you were standing at the edge and you didn't give the Heil Hitler salute, they would stop the parade, someone would come, and they'd beat you down in front of everybody. Innocent people. Just beat down in the streets. You salute when we go by. Pretty soon, everybody was just saluting. But there were complaints. People would complain to Hitler and say, they're out of control. And he'd say, oh, it's just one guy. I'm going to talk to that one guy. They were in on it. It was this phase, creating crisis. When he took over, these guys were all killed in one night. The people were begging, you got to make this stop. He said, oh, I'll help you. Oh, I'll help you. The Night of Long Knives. That was it. He came on the radio and said, I know I violated the Constitution, but I did the right thing for Germany. I know I did the wrong thing in many people's eyes, but I saved Germany because there was a plot. There was a plot. These guys, these brown shirts, they were gonna kill the top guy, and I am certainly not him. When he died, that's when he declared himself chancellor. He said, I can never replace him, so I'm making a new office for me, chancellor. It was just a few weeks after the Night of Long Knives. Activate the shadow system. When you beg for their help, they will activate the shadow system. When Hitler said, oh, gee, I'm sorry, I violated the Constitution, he activated the shadow system. And Germany completely transformed. And while they were slipping into it beforehand, it wasn't until the Night of Long Knives that they turned it all on. And then he had complete power. And the last one is remain in crisis mode. Have to do it. We're at war, you know. We have to do it. This is how it's going to happen. This is very important that you understand. We're in phase 2. This can happen overnight. It's going to happen this summer. When is enough for the people to beg? I don't know. But it will happen. Unless you're aware of it, unless you force them out of the shadows. I can't do it on my own. The mainstream media won't do it. You must do it. You must connect this to this. You have to. If you can't connect SEIU, if the people in the unions don't understand, the nurses don't understand that SEIU is paying for one of the main organizers of Occupy Wall Street. That's why they have medical tents paid for by Occupy Wall Street by SEIU. They are connected. If you can't connect them, because I've tried, if you can't connect them, done. If you do, and you do it with love at the same time, offer solutions other than this, we win.